guys some good news. First, before we get into that, it's been a little while since I've done a Q&A video. At least, I want to say 6 months or so. So I'm going to be asking over the next week or so before my videos if you have any questions that you want to leave for a Q&A video that I'll be doing. Leave it in the comments here, and as long as it is a appropriate question, not something that's going to get me banned, demonetized, etc. So no, obvious, don't ask anything obviously salacious. I will compile those questions and answer them in a week or two. But yes, I have good news. You might have heard me talking early this year, late 2023, about some of the issues I was having, and me being stressed out about my visa paperwork, right? Because I'm here in Sydney, Australia. I'm American, and when I came here, I moved here February 12th, 2023. And I came here on a 1-year temporary visa. Because the visa I was applying for to stay here longer term, you had to be inside the country to apply for that. I couldn't apply for that while I was back in the United States. So I got here in February. February 12th. And then from last February until last December, we were gathering the documents and getting things together in order to file the paperwork to get my longer term visa. And what did that look like? That looked like we had to get statements from friends and family attesting to the validity of our relationship. Basically saying that we weren't just having this relationship to get me a green card, right? We had to provide photographs of us together as a couple and supporting documents. So we had to put our statements for our joint bank account. We had to put our lease agreement, which had both of our names on it, for our house. Just things like that showed that we had a valid relationship, we shared responsibilities, right? And then I had to list out my entire work history, address history. I had to provide divorce records. I had to provide my birth certificate, all this stuff. And I did not have a copy of my divorce certificate when I moved here because I was in such a bad mental headspace. I didn't check the box to get a copy of my divorce certificate when it went through. So I had to reach out to the court back home and have them mail a copy of my divorce certificate. I also did not bring my birth certificate with me, and I had to order a new copy of my birth certificate. And then the most difficult aspect of the whole process was I had to get a police background check, a federal police background check. So what I had to do was I had to go to a local police police department here in Sydney and have them take my fingerprints on this standard FBI fingerprint form that they have. It's a piece of paper, so I had to do ink fingerprints, which is not the standard anymore. Now it's all digital. Very old school. So I did that, and then I had to send them from here to the FBI, obviously. And then it took them their processing time and all that to get it figured out. It was like a month and a half to 2 months after I shipped it until I got a response from them. And the first go around, they actually rejected my fingerprints. They said that the fingerprints weren't clear enough. So I had to go back to the police station and get my fingerprints done a second time. And I was kind of like passive-aggressively covering all my bases. The second time around, I sent them multiple copies of my fingerprints. They ended up approving that. But then after they approved it, I had to wait for them to send the results from the United States to here. And if you know anything about that, you know that there's very long shipping times from the United States to Australia, like 2 weeks minimum. And so, by the time we got all of our documents, it was a folder like this thick with our statements, our family statements, the application forms we had to fill out, all the information they asked for, copies of our passports, photos of us, all this stuff. And we got that sent off end of December. And like I said, I was here on a 1-year visa. I got here February 12th, so with how long it was taking us to gather all the information, waiting for the divorce record to get here, waiting for the birth certificate, waiting for the fingerprint, the criminal record search, all that stuff. We're sitting there watching the months tick by, and we're like, so by the time we finally got all of our stuff together, and then we had to send that off to the immigration place, and the immigration facility that handled our particular visa is like a unique one from all the other types of visas you can apply for. So all the other visas, pretty much you can do it all online. You can fill out the online forms, you can scan the documents directly, and you can upload it all into their online portal. And that means you can communicate back and forth with them digitally. It's very quick and responsive. But of course, the particular subclass of visa we were going for me, was only on, it was print only. So the only form of communication was via mail. You couldn't email anything. There was no digital anything, right? So we had to mail them all these documents, and then we didn't even know, that they had received it or whatever. We're waiting. And then the only thing that happened is we got an email saying that my bridging visa had been approved, because once they received the documents and then started the formal application process for me, the minute my application was opened for the next visa, I got put onto a bridging visa, which was what we needed to happen before February rolled around. And that was basically while I'm in limbo waiting for a decision, they can't deport me if my visa expiration date goes by, which it did. We were sitting there, and we still hadn't heard anything. February 10th, 11th rolls around, February 12th rolls around, and I'm sitting there like, okay, this is the last day of my visa, the 13th, boom, I'm on my bridging visa now. And my bridging visa had even fewer rights than my visa. So my original visa I was on for the first year I was here, I had really limited working rights here. Like I can't work for a place for more than a couple months. I can't, there's a lot of restrictions on it. And my bridging visa had those exact same restrictions, except for I also was not allowed to leave the country. Right? So that, makes it a little bit more tense. But finally, just 3 days ago, we got the letter. My visa has been approved, which is amazing. Now I'm still technically a temporary visitor here, but instead of only being a 1-year visa, it's a 5-year visa. So this visa I'm on now expires February of 2029, 5 years from now. And I have unlimited work rights, so all those work restrictions are lifted, which is nice. Because the problem is, especially in the career field I work in, nobody wants to train you and hire you if they're gonna be forced to fire you in a couple months because of your work restrictions. So my work options have been limited since I've been here. Thankfully, I came to Australia with a big nest egg, knowing that was gonna be an issue. So I had a ton of money, and not a ton, but I had a good amount of money to live off of over the last year. Plus doing online work and things like that to supplement, plus my YouTube payments. I've been good. But now all my work restrictions are lifted, which is great. So I can actually get into a place that's doing the kind of work I want to do. And yeah, I just feel such a weight off my shoulders. It's like it's been hard trying to put down roots when you're worried that you might get they might get pulled out from under you, right? Because as unlikely as it seems, especially now in hindsight, there's a part of me that's like, what if they deny my application, though? That was the back of my mind the whole time. I was like, I feel like something's gonna go wrong. I'm gonna get denied. We're gonna have to go to court to appeal it. What if the appeal doesn't work? So, that's just been a weight that's been on my shoulders, and especially as the end of January into February rolled around, I was kind of dealing with depression a little bit, just worrying about all that. I noticed I'd kind of disconnected a little bit from the people around me, so I had to reel that back in. But it's such a huge relief now, and finally starting to feel like I can maybe put down roots here a little bit better. Which is funny because, my girlfriend and I, our long-term plan is not to live here because of how expensive Australia, especially the Sydney area, the area that I live in. Well, I live in Western Sydney, but, technically the West, but even here it's getting expensive. Our rent went up from last year. It was an increase of $190 a week. So, it's really expensive here, and as much as I love it here, she likes it here, we know long term this is probably somewhere we're gonna settle down, especially because she and I both want a bit more of a quieter lifestyle, get some land, have, be a little bit more self-sufficient, not full on prep or anything, but have some vegetables, grow some fruits and herbs and lettuces, and grow some tomatoes, grow some, cucumbers, stuff like that. Maybe have some chickens, have some goats, have a horse. That's the kind of life, I'm looking to do there. But that's down the road, we're enjoying it here for the time being. Once the shine wears off here, once we're both ready to make a bigger move, life situations, align a little bit better. least the next 5 years here. And I have total security in that now, which is great. And, yeah, and we can renew that as many times as we like. So once 2028 rolls around, we basically just refile the exact same paperwork we filed the first time around. Tack on, an extra 4 years worth of supporting documents, and they'll pretty much just rubber stamp it right on through. But that's really nice. And we were actually worried, there was a thing that mentioned that we might have to buy an entire year's of health insurance up front for me as a condition of approving the loan, which, like, buying an entire, not an entire year, the entire 5 years of health insurance up front, which probably would have come out to like $5 or $6 grand or something, which we were like, that's gonna be a rough one. That's gonna be a rough hit right now, but thankfully, that didn't seem to be a requirement, so I don't have to buy 5 years of health insurance in one go. Yeah, I can't vote here, unfortunately. I can still vote in U.S. elections, but I don't know how my ballot's counted. I don't know if it counts as, like, for my state, or if it just goes into the popular vote. But now I need to figure out my taxes. That's gonna be fun, because the United States is one of only, like, 2 or 3 countries in the world that makes you file taxes, even if you're living abroad. So I have to figure out what special forms I need to use. And I have to start figuring that out next week. Like right now, I'm like, I'm just gonna bask in the afterglow of the good news. And then next week I'll start stressing about my taxes, right? But yeah, so some very, very good news. I feel 100 pounds lighter, so much better. My mental health has massively improved since receiving this news. Like, I kind of feel like I've been stuck in a rut a little bit, right? Just kind of caught in limbo. You're just waiting for the yes or the no, and the longer you wait, the more negative you get. You're like, oh, it's gonna be no. If it's gonna be a yes, like, they would have said yes already, right? So you get caught in that loop, and yeah, just a big, big relief. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm here for at least the next 5 years. And I'll tell you, I've had this weird lock on lately. I don't know what it is, but I just have this voice in my head that's like, I need to go. I think my next vacation, we need to go to Mexico City. I feel compelled to say that right now, but I've had like Mexico City stuck in my head for like the last 2 weeks. I've been watching videos, reading stuff, and I'm like, I really want to go to Mexico. Part of me wonders, like, maybe we'll move to Mexico instead of back to the States. I don't know, but so that is that major domino sorted. Now we can move on to the next major life event that's going to be happening for me this year. There's like a ton of stuff that's going to be happening this year, like buckle up for me. But anyways, I just wanted to share that with you guys. Thank you so much for being here and supporting this channel, supporting me over the last year. It's been more help than you can ever know. And like I said, Q&A questions, leave them in the comments down below. And anything, like I said, that is appropriate, I will get to it in a week or so, week or two. I'm doing part 2 of the DC Cinematic Universe video I did a year ago. I laid out what I would do with the DC Cinematic Universe, and that video got a really positive response back when I made it. And I just recently, a couple of days ago, I got 2 comments on that video. People asked me to do part 2. It's like, you know what, maybe I should. So I'm like halfway done with planning that out right now. I'm still editing this FIFA gameplay video. It's gonna be a big one. I have like 6 to 8 hours of gameplay I'm trying to edit down into like 20 minutes. So, but yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked the video, please leave a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more content just like this almost every single day. Till next time, guys. Bye bye.